Okay, I think I'm all set to film this part of this video. I have my PJs on, and these are Nightmare Before Christmas PJs, which I found at Primark the other day, and I love them. Like, there are all the characters on it. So I've got my cozy, spooky PJs on, and I initially had my lovely autumn nightgown on that I got from Next, but it's a bit too thick for downstairs and I don't want to sweat through these. And it's the end of the day, it's like 10 p.m. I am exhausted. It's been a long day. I was out all day for work. Also probably coming down with a cold, but I wanted to really sit down because I received a box from Sci-Fire and I wanted to unbox it on camera and share with you basically how I'm trying to get out of the massive reading slump I've been in since July. I have read very few books, which is very unusual for me, and I've been really struggling, and I thought, what perfect excuse than cozy season, spooky season, to actually try and read things that I feel like I want to read a bit more these days, which are kind of like horror books or horror short stories or comics, to try and get out of this reading slump. It's been a bit better since the beginning of September. I think I've read maybe 1 or 2 books and 1 short story. So not as bad as August and July was, but I really thought also that I need to be patient with myself, and I have to tell myself that it's okay if I don't read 10 books in a month. And I also want to use spooky season to enjoy my evenings a bit more. And with this I mean that I can engage in a few hobbies that I maybe always wanted to try, or that I've recently learned about and never did because all I did was reading. And so I decided to carve out some time of my evening to try new things. And I've already started doing some embroidery, some cross-stitching, I think it's called, and I'm loving it. And then I can kind of, if I do it like seasonally themed, can kind of go looking for frames in charity shops where I can hang out, you know, what I've created, hang out in the home, and then changing them according to the season. So for example, currently doing this, and no, I'm not any good at it, but I've noticed that the more I try doing stuff, like I've just literally started yesterday night, the last 10 minutes ahead before bedtime, but the more I try, because I've done a couple more in the past that came with Fairy Loot, so I sent some embroidery kit, and that's how I actually discovered them and started using them. It's the more I practice the type of stitch, the better I become at it. And I thought I need to do spooky embroidery kits, so then I can kind of hang them around the house. And then in this kit that I got out of Amazon, there was actually this one as well that I'm gonna do next after I finish these. And why is it so difficult? And then next I'm gonna probably do these over the light. We'll collaborate. And with that, because I thought, okay, you're really enjoying these. I was on Amazon when I came across this book, which is Creepy Cross Stitch. And what this book is, it gives you the instructions on how to create all of those spooky designs. Like, I don't have this paper wall, clearly. Sorry, the light is really not the best, is it? But just imagine doing some of these and then hanging them up in September for spooky season. This is a bit more complicated because, as you can see, you have the sketch, and then I have ordered some material in order to do them, in order to try and create them. So it requires a bit more skills than simply follow the line already, the pattern already drawn on the canvas, like the one I showed you before. But I think that if I practice and if I don't mind getting it wrong at the beginning, I can have a lot of fun with this. So then a few days ago, I was looking for, maybe a couple of weeks ago, I was looking for some art and crafts I could do with my little one. And because she's born during spooky season, we kind of are big fans of spooky season and Halloween and everything that comes with it. So I found randomly some diamond painting keychains there for kids for Halloween, and we had a lot of fun making those. So for example, like we made these and these, and like there were like 12 in it, if not more. And so we created those together, and I really enjoyed the ritual of just sitting, chatting, do a bit of diamond painting, which I'd never done before in my life. And I thought, is there anything like I can do as an adult, like a bit more complex, that will require a few hours? And actually went again on Amazon, where I found those, and yes, there is actually adult diamond painting. There are spooky, Halloween themed or gothic themed diamond paintings. So I got this one, and I'm gonna give it a try. I thought, because I'm into podcasts, which I'm gonna touch before we go into the books, I've been listening to a few podcasts. I thought I can put on a podcast, or because I won't be able to watch something because I will be kind of, looking at what I'm doing, but I can listen to an audiobook, or more likely listening to a podcast while I do that, or just some music, some relaxing fall music, and try to do that in the evening, especially if I just want to switch off the brain and I don't feel like reading, as it happens sometimes these days. Speaking of paintings, I cannot draw. I cannot draw if my life depends on it, and I am notoriously bad at drawing, to the point that I had an incident when my child was in nursery where I inadvertently, we did some drawings together at home, and then she brought one of mine to school, and the teacher praised her, the kind of, praise that you give children. Good effort, it's amazing, we can put this on the weekly board, and then every week it gets changed, and then I go and pick her up, and it's my drawing, which she thought my daughter, that at the time was probably 2 to 3 years old, did. And instead it was me. So that's how bad I am at drawing. But what I am not necessarily horrible at is coloring. And I've done a lot of coloring books when I was at university doing my masters, because it was during COVID, so many lessons were online, or we would just go maybe once a week and stay there all day, so cram all lessons in one day. And it was big rooms where I could just do some coloring in the corner, and I would just spend my time listening in, but coloring, because I noticed that I listen in better if I'm doing something else in the meantime. So I didn't feel like getting any coloring books this season. I don't know why, but I just didn't feel like it. And I thought, I am really into acrylic and watercolor, and I would prefer to experiment with those. So I was thinking, what is it I can do that doesn't require me to draw, but that I can still get to paint? And again, I found these. So apparently these are like color by numbers. So they are like canvas that comes with a drawing, and then you follow the instruction on which color to put according to the color. And I was like, I can give it a try and see how it goes, especially because again, they have spooky Halloweeny one. Now these ones that I've got, they are quite small. But again, that's fine, because I will need to put them in storage once fall is over and I want to change the season. So I prefer them to have them a bit smaller. However, I don't know how it's gonna go with coloring something that small. But I've been fine with doing a bit of journaling using acrylic and watercolor. So I really wanted to do some coloring, fall themed based, but I didn't necessarily want to reach out for a coloring book. And I thought this is great, and again, I can do this while watching movies. Speaking of which, I have a list of 31 movies, Halloween movies that I want to watch, and I might do a video about that once I get around to those. I have watched already 5 of those, so yeah, not too bad. I am getting there. I've gone till the end of October to watch the rest. Will I watch all 31? Maybe not, but I will watch a good chunk of those. And again, I found it amazing having like a list of Halloween Halloween movies that I need to kind of tick off once I watch them and rate them. And yeah, so in the evening I'm doing some embroidery, maybe we'll do some coloring soon once I come through the door, and I'll just watch in the background scary movies. Not too horrorish, like I scare easily. I'm easily impressionable, especially when it comes onto movies. So I'm more looking to like cozy, like fun, almost family-oriented movies, or like splasher that are so absurd that I wouldn't necessarily get scared by them, if it makes sense. Or gothic movies. I watched Nosferatu in the weekend. We watched it while having takeaway on a Saturday and loved it. So those are the kind of movies that I'm reaching out for. And of course, puzzles, jigsaw puzzles. I love doing puzzles. The last one I've done was when my mum was here a few weeks ago, and before that it's been a few months, just because it takes time and space to do puzzles. And I have recently done one with all the Terry Pratchett characters, and it's one of my favorite. And I actually bought a frame, which usually I don't do, I just store them, and I have to hang it because that's how much, Disco World is one of my favorite fantasy series. I just got a very like deep, strong emotional attachment to these characters, and so having like a puzzle, I was like, yes. And that puzzle I actually bought last Halloween when I was a family trip. We took a family trip somewhere in England. Don't ask me the place because I don't remember, but it was just cabin in the middle of the woods and just doing puzzles and reading. It was just an amazing time, and I got that from the local Waterstone. So love that puzzle, and it made me really think of how much I had a great time last year doing a puzzle during this season. And I thought, how about Halloween puzzles? So again, I got these and I got these, so especially during the weekends and when I've got a bit more time, because I tend to kind of like to do puzzles for a long time. Do the Halloween puzzles as well. I found my cozy blanket. You see it? I love it. To continue on with the hobbies, I also wanted to mention that I have found these on Amazon, and it's basically kind of like puzzles for adults, but you have to kind of solve murder mysteries. And again, I've just looked at the preview, so I'm not sure how it works. My understanding is kind of like it's not Sudoku or like crosswords, stuff like that, but very similar. And then you just basically solve puzzles, and then you get to who done it. And it sounds very fun, and it's something that I sometimes enjoy, the idea of doing some puzzle, doing Sudoku or crosswords. I'm very bad at it, but I do like to keep my mind fresh if possible. But also what I've been particularly enjoying, and I particularly noticed I enjoy during this period of time, especially when listening to audiobook, it kind of went into the realm of my reading slump, where I didn't want to read, but I didn't want anyone else to read to me. It makes sense. So I said, okay, but I travel a lot for work. I spend hours on buses. For my school, I spend hours on trains. So at times I cannot, so what do I do if I don't read? And I cannot read on a bus anyway, or I'll get car sick. So I remembered that some of my favorite podcasts ever had been true crime podcasts. So I went on a spiral of looking online for the best true crime podcasts, and I've now listened to 2 whole seasons of Beartown. Is it Beartown? It's called. I'll pop it here. So the first season, it's my favorite, and it's kind of a cold case that gets resolved. And this man spent the podcast host spent 10 years following this case, but it is very addictive. I really enjoyed it. And the second season I also enjoyed, slightly less, I would say, because also it's unfinished. So this is me just also warning you that the second season of Beartown, there are gonna be further updates down the line. We just don't know when. And yeah, just the criminal justice system just works very, very slowly. And so maybe there was a bit of frustration on, oh, but I want more answers by the end, and I didn't get them. But still, how he speaks, how he presents the case, it's very detailed, it takes his time, and I'm really enjoying it. And what I'm listening in right now, and I'll give you an overview, at the end, maybe at the end of a month I can mention it, or maybe at the end of a season I might do like a bit of like, these are movies I watched, these are all the true crime podcasts I actually managed to listen to, but I go through them quite quickly. Is In the Dark I'm listening to, and the first season, I'm in the middle of the first season, and again it is a kind of cold case situation. I'm enjoying it as of now a tiny bit less, because I think the content is just less. So it's still 8 episodes, but it's dragged a bit in the dark. However, hopefully there are going to be more twists and turns that I don't see coming, and also I know that I've got many more seasons out, so it might be that again they need kind of, you know, they find their footing in. But if you have any recommendation for a true crime podcast, please let me know. I have listened to Serial. Probably my favorite one to this day is a Serial podcast. So I've listened to all the seasons of Serial, and I have now listened to all the seasons of Bear Town. But if you have any recommendation for any true crime podcast, please, please, please leave them down below. So that is podcast wise. But now that I've showed you a bit of my routine and a bit of my house decor, and we talked about my hobbies, now let's talk about books and how I plan to try and get out of this bloody reading slump. I also forgot to mention that yes, I've got cozy pajamas on, but I also have socks that say boo on them. I need to take them out to show you, but of course we have boo socks. And books that I am currently reading, just started, or that I plan to read. Now, I will start with the things I already own. I will start with the books that I own and I plan to read, and then I move into the comics I own and I'm planning to read, and then finally, to end up this video, we're gonna unbox the Sci-Fi book box. So, currently reading, I just started last night, literally yesterday night. I found this in a charity shop years ago. It's horror stories. Authors include Roald Dahl, Saki, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, and it's a collection of horror short stories with the most campy cover ever. I just love it. Like, look at the man. So I'm reading like 1 or 2 stories a night. They're just like 10 pages long max. And I thought in the evening I can just read 1 or 2 stories if I don't feel like reading much, and then move on to do any of the other stuff that I mentioned before in the hobbies section, or continue on reading maybe something else. In terms of short story, that is not too long, so I don't think it's gonna take me like the whole month to go through all the short stories, but I have an inkling that potentially short stories are the way to go, especially if I'm in a reading slump, because I feel less lack of commitment. I can read one now and then move on to something else while feeling like I've read a bit, so I feel good with myself. So I had another collection of short stories, Classic Tales of Horror, which is a leather-bound collection with the sparkly pages. I think I got this from Waterstone, I think, and it's a bit massive, so I don't plan to maybe read all of it this year, but again includes short stories from many authors, some of them more famous than others, and yeah, they are, I have no idea, while these ones are from the 80s, so I understood that they are horror, but they're more atmospheric than actually, you know, jump scared or very, very scary. At least the 2 I've read thus far. I have no idea what kind of collection this includes, but when I read, it's a classic Tales of Horror. So again, we got Edgar Allan Poe, Bram Stoker, Honor de Balzac, so I think Arthur Conan Doyle, so again, they're gonna be like the same atmospheric, but not like modern horror stories, which work wonders, because if they're well written and they give me the right vibes, that's fine. They don't need to be like terrifying for me to enjoy them. Now, full books I have here, I will attempt okay, I will attempt 5 books since in this month. Starting off with a vampire book. I want to read The Historian by Elizabeth Kostova. I only know that a lot of this is in epistolary format. It's also a book about librarians, but also about Dracula. And I don't know if it's like a modern revisitation of Dracula, or if it's like a made up sequel to Dracula. I just know it's about this girl that one day she's perusing her father's library when she finds an ancient book and a set of yellow letters, yellowish letters, very old letters, and they say, "To my unfortunate successor." And the story unravels from there. And I do know that it has to do with Dracula to certain degrees because of the reviews I've heard and read from the back. I also know that some people really like it and some people don't because it's very atmospheric. So if it is very slow, I hope that the atmosphere and the vibes come through. But also it's a book that I found in a charity shop, and I can read 100 pages, and if it really doesn't work I can put down without feeling too guilty about it. And at least I can say I've read it after having it in my collection for more than 5 years now. Then I will try The Chalkman by C.J. Tudor. This is a book about a serial killer that probably leaves chalkmans behind. I don't know anything else, but I was like, give me a good serial killer book. And again, another charity shop finding. I have owned this for a long time. It's time for me to read it. And then the two more like horror, complete horror books I am gonna read is, of course, I need to read a book by Adam Neville. I just love his stuff that I've read thus far. And this is All the Fiends of Hell. I know it's cosmic horror. I only know that it has to do with aliens. It takes place in England, and there is a survivor of this alien apocalypse. This alien that come and kill you, probably in the most brutal ways you can think of. And our protagonist with two orphans, they hear that near the sea there is safety, so embark on this journey through any kind of peril you can imagine to reach the sea. And I do trust Neville. That is gonna make me unsettled. That is gonna give me the right vibes. And if you have never read any of his books and you're looking for a good, unsettling, very well written, and also covering a very important topic, if you want, I would definitely suggest No One Gets Out Alive by Adam Neville. Best reads I had a couple of years ago. I was obsessed with that book, especially the first part. And the other true horror I'm gonna read is a body horror, and this is Nick Cutter, The Troop. It's one of those books that everyone who is a fan of horror mentions, and it's one of those books that I feel like once I read these, I think I've covered the ground of the most popular and well praised horror books online, because I've read most of them. Which is a bit of a pity also, because now when I'm looking for another book, I'm like, I've read them all, like the most popular ones, so now I need to seek the gems, the hidden gems. But these, I feel like it's so popular, and it's one of very few that I've not read yet. So it's a body horror about a bunch of kids. They go on this camping trip on an island, and while they're there gathering around the fire, I believe, or something, they're about to camp, a man comes out of the woods, and he is very hungry but also very, very sick. So he carries a plague that spreads very fast. And yeah, it's a body horror. I thought it's gross, so yeah, hopefully I'm grossed out. And to finish it off, something light, something level. I enjoyed the first one once I read it. So I'm gonna read Charlotte Says, which is a prequel to Frozen Charlotte, which is a YA horror that I randomly found in a charity shop, expecting to DNF it, to not enjoy it much, but I actually found it quite creepy and such a page turner that when I found the sequel in a charity shop, I was like, I need to read this. This is actually a prequel. Sorry, it's not a sequel, but it came out after. So Frozen Charlotte, the original one, the first one, it's about a girl that goes to spend the summer, I believe, with her cousins on this island, and they happen to live in what was only girl schools that end up in ruin because of very creepy stuff happening. And now the family is inhabiting the home, but let's say that the home is hunted and there are creepy dolls involved. It was generally creepy, and this is the prequel. This is, I believe, what happened to the house of girls before it became inhabited before the family actually moved in a century after. And then the last two books I want to mention are non-fiction books. I really enjoy reading non-fiction, and I've got two witchy books to read. So the first one is The Witches, Salem, 1692, A History. As the title suggests, this is the story of Salem in Massachusetts, especially in that year where 19 women end up hanged and Salem becomes the very famous Salem we know it now. But I've always heard of it. I've watched vlogs of people traveling there and all the witchy shops, and it sounds like it's on my like I need to go there list, but I don't know the full history of it. So this sounds like, and contains also pictures, this sounds like a book that might teach me that history. And the last book I have is also about witches, but I don't have a full synopsis of it because it's one of those kind of classic Penguin, and yeah, it basically have blurs and praises for the author, but doesn't have like a synopsis on the back. But this is The Ruin of All Witches, Life and Death in the New World. Now I have read though a bit of like there is kind of like what this book is about, and it says a couple of maps that says that this is a book that focuses on all the New England territories and witchcraft in those territories. So I think it does include Massachusetts, probably, and Salem, but not only that, hopefully. So those combined, because it would be okay if it's on the same exact topic. I can Salem both, but it would be more interesting if it's a bit more broader and looks at, again, all New England rather than just Salem. Moving on to comics, one I've already read last few days and I had not read since 2015 was the classic Through the Woods by Emily Carroll. And I must say, it sparked in me the idea that I can generally reread comics if I've been like 5-10 years since I've read them, and I won't remember much of it, especially if I like a collection of short stories like this one. I didn't remember any of the stories, so it was like reading it afresh, and I think I enjoyed it more than I read it the first time. They're creepy, they're atmospheric, they don't take themselves too seriously, they're not like overly creepy, they're more, again, atmospheric, as is the style of Emily Carroll, and I really, really enjoyed it. And she has just the best drawing style. I love her style. So I read these, and I have started last night, which I already own, Something is Killing the Children, the second compendium. I have read the first one a couple of years ago, absolutely loved it. A town where children are getting killed. They say it's a monster, but the adults do not believe them. There's only one adult that believes them. When she comes to town, his name is Erica, and she kills monsters. And yeah, loving this. I'll show you some of the art very quickly because I don't want to spoil anything. So yeah, just read one chapter of Something is Killing the Children, and I am then, there are a couple of things I own and then read. American Vampire, because again, vampires, I love vampires all year round, but what perfect season if not now to read these. But I don't know the synopsis of these, but funny story, I've read the first volume ages ago from the library, and then I requested the second volume, I believe, but then I moved and I never went to pick it up. So this is I believe contains 2 volumes of a normal run, so it's book number 1. And so yeah, I'm going to read American Vampire, which I owned for a few months. I'll show you the first page, so I don't think it can be really considered a spoiler if it's the first page. And this is, you know, Stephen King has something to do with it. So high hopes. And then one that I will require some support while reading it because it's massive. I'm going to read volume number 5 of Hellboy, the library edition. This includes the volumes Darkness Call and The Wild Hunt. I have read a couple of years ago the last volume, maybe last year actually, during this season. Loved it. And by the way, I watched The Crooked Man, the adaptation that everyone hated. I loved it because I've read the comic and I thought it was the most accurate, based on the comic, adaptation that I could do, the movie. I mean, I really enjoyed it. It was weird. It was supposed to be, because this is a Hellboy. Hellboy, I collect this with time because it's extremely expensive, but I just have the best of times with the library edition. It's just that it requires some effort in reading it, finding the strength and the time to really immerse myself in Hellboy. And yeah, I'm gonna read the volume number 5, which is massive, and then there are 2 more volumes in the library edition, and that's it. I believe there are other volumes aside of that. The library edition is not covered, but I will double check because I'm not sure. And yeah, Hellboy, one of my favorite comics ever. The Crooked Man. I love this so much. It's just I feel like so privileged to be able to experience these in the library edition with big panels and just immerse myself in the colors, in the story, in the humor, and also like the sadness of it all, because Hellboy has its moment of humor but has very dark moments, and the fact that covers all the lore around the world is just what captures me and captivates me about this. So Hellboy, I'm gonna read volume number 5. Then another thing, before we open the box, I actually have with me Fraction, and this is the only manga I purchased this season, and all I know that this is extremely disturbing according to reviews, and that is about a serial killer, I think, that butchers women or bodies. I don't know anything else. It's a standalone manga horror that when I heard about it and I heard how disturbing this was, I was like, yes, sign me up. Perfect for spooky season. Okay, we are ready for the box. Last thing we're gonna do, grab the scissors. I had them here. They're not here. I can try with my teeth. That's how tired I am. I might do it with my teeth. Oh no, I found the scissors. I'm gonna go to bed straight after finishing this. So let's open up the box, and my address is on top, so we'll have to do it off camera. Apologies, but I'll show you once I've opened it. I have not ordered anything from Sci-Fi in a very long time, so I miss them. They got good bargains, but yeah, I've not been spending that much in book hauls or anything this year. So this is what the box looks like. I'm trying to hold it up. And then we got Peter. And then we got the bookmark. That was so lovely. They always send like bookmarks. We're gonna look at a second at them because I can see some very cute ones. And here are the comics. So let me put down the box here so you can still see it. Okay, I just want to show you. Oh, this is a magnet actually they sent me this time. I'm gonna pop these on my in the kitchen. Daydream hours. And then we got very cute bookmarks, as always. I love them. Let me see if there is any. This is very 80s, isn't it? I'm gonna see if there is anything particularly new. Oh, I've seen these ones and before, but these ones I haven't. Yeah. Always appreciative of a free gift. And who doesn't love some bookmarks? Let me put them here because I'm gonna put the comics in. So we have 2 stacks, I think. Let's start with the first. No, we have one in one stack. And some paper. I didn't go crazy. I bought like 4 or 5 things. I don't know if it's all of it over there though. I have to double check. I think so. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the first one is After the Rain. Stunning cover. I'll show you the first page. So this is an adaptation of the author, one of the author's short novels, and the short novels is called On the Road, and it's a collection. It was part of a collection. This is the story of Choma, a young Nigerian American woman that goes back to Nigeria to meet with some family, and she has some secrets, she has some connections with spirits that become activated, especially when she's back in Nigeria. And she meets a boy that wasn't supposed to be there, and as the two make physical contact, the boy brings her, the touch brings her into the spirit world. And yeah, I have no idea what else to expect. I've not read the original short story, but the drawings, the art seems stunning, and I've heard great things about this one. So I'm reading After the Rain. And then I have, this is an art style that's quite familiar to me, because I've read, what's it called? I don't remember. It's on top of my tongue, but I can't remember it. Just look at this before I show you what this is. Like, look at this, isn't it spooky? And the shadow is actually, the shadow is in that's how it is. This is The Man Who Laughs. I've seen this art style in another graphic novel, Leap Hook, which I really enjoyed, and I've read it multiple times. That graphic novel is so creepy. So this is another graphic novel with the same art style, which in itself I found so creepy. Like, it sends shivers down my back. So very interesting. This is an adaptation of Victor Hugo 19th century story. I believe it's called The Man Who Laughs, and it's an adaptation of The Man Who Laughs, and it's also The Man Who Laughs. So this Victor Hugo story is the inspiration behind the Joker from Batman. So needless to say, I'm intrigued by these, and it seems like it takes place in London in 1709, and it's about a group of people. They have to put on this performance over and over, and one of them is The Man Who Laughs. And the synopsis, it's confusing in a sense, but what it does say is that it's grotesque, and I'm like, yes, that is exactly the vibe I'm going for. The grotesqueness even of the art style, it just matches it perfectly. I've called it creepy before, but I feel grotesque is probably the best way to describe it. Severed by Scott Snyder and Scott Taft and Attila Rutaki, but Scott Snyder is the same mind behind American Vampire. It's one of the authors of American Vampire. All I know is that this is super creepy. First of all, like, look at the cover. I'll show you some of the art, and this is the story of this boy who leaves home to go and seek his dad, who left a long time ago. And the only thing it says from the back is that what he's gonna find out is that the America out there that he imagines is not the America of dreams he thought it was. So I believe it has to do with a serial killer. I mean, it looks like it's to do with a serial killer. It's a standalone. I've heard great things about it, and I've read other stuff by Scott Snyder, which I enjoyed overall, including the first volume of American Vampires when I read it. So this is the first part of a collection. So I think it's two parts. So if I like this one, I will reach out for the second one. This is Harrow County, the first 6 volumes. It contains the first 6 volumes, Harrow County, and it's the story of Emmy, who knows that the woods and the area around where she lives is full of monsters. What she does not know is that she has some connections to them, and on her 18th birthday she just finds out how much they are connected. And I don't know anything else about it. However, when I was looking for recommendations, these kept popping up. Like, so many videos mentioned these as, you know, one of the best comics to immerse yourself during this season for its creepiness and how good this was. So I am looking forward to read Harrow County. And yeah, I might do a video in the future where I recommend, you know, my favorite ones, because by now I've read a few, but I'm always looking for recommendations. So please read them, leave them in the comments down below. I would love to know if there's any recommendations, anything you want me to pick up, or you think I would enjoy. And the next one, and the last one, which is massive in terms of the book itself, is Tales from the Crypt, Volume 1. Now, I picked this up because I was looking for anthologies, I was looking for short stories, comics, and there are a bunch I can reach out to if I enjoy this one. And this reminds me a bit like the comic version of these kind of stories. So very 80s, bit grotesque, but not necessarily like, you know, I can't sleep at night once I read them. They're just the right kind of horror. They're very cartoonish, they're very like the style. It's massive, so I don't know if I can show you on camera, but I'll show you one of these. And I think like I had the impression that there was a lot of nostalgia with people that recommended these, and maybe they grew up reading these, and I was like, listen, some can be horror, sign me up. I missed out when I was a child. I wasn't into horror at all. Like, no one in my family read any comics. I have my grandma who read a lot of books, but no comics. So now I feel like I've left out, and then I need to catch up with stuff. So these are my bounty, and I think having these really helps me with the reading slump, because reading comics engages me visually as well, and I just find it a bit easier. So amazing bounty here. Let me read through these things and see how it goes. Leave your recommendations down below. Leave your recommendations for hobbies down below, like anything you can come up with, anything you've not mentioned and you thought, oh, maybe she would enjoy something like that, because I'm always open to new ideas, especially now where I am actively seeking to do new things and keep more engaged and just enjoy my evenings and relax when I can. But thank you so much for watching. I would love for you to stick around, press, you know, follow button if you want, and come and chat with me in the comments down below, and I will see you next time. Please take care of yourself. Ciao.